Hello and welcome to the program. I am DEJI360. Now, the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, is perhaps one of the most controversial government agencies in the country, laden with allegations of widespread corruption and failure to meet the yearnings of the Niger Delta people. With the level of poverty in the region and following protest over alleged financial recklessness in the NDDC in August 2019, President Muhammadu Buhari ordered a forensic audit of the activities of the agency since its inception in 2001. That report has now been submitted to the President. The Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, who received the report on behalf of the President, said the NDDC has over 13,000 abandoned and unverified projects, despite the 6 trillion naira allocation it received between 2001 and 2019. Malami also pointed out the issue of multiple bank accounts, about 362 of them, resulting in lack of proper reconciliation of accounts. Recall that the affairs of the NDDC has not been without drama. Last year, the then acting managing director of the agency, Daniel Ponde, slumped during a public hearing by the lower house of parliament. All eyes are now on the forensic audit, and although details about it are still sketchy, it's expected to uncover a lot of illegal activities and is one step towards achieving transparency in the NDDC. Besides, the President has said he is going to ensure that those who are indicted in the report are prosecuted and made to face justice. Joining me on the program right now to discuss this further is Eze Onyekpere, who is the Executive Director of the Center for Social Justice. Thank you very much, Mr. Onyekpere, for joining us on the program. Let me start by asking you what your general overview is of this forensic audit that has been submitted to the President now, the forensic audit on the NDDC.
Very well. You know, the details are not just out, but snippets of what is contained in the report is what we were told by the Honorable Attorney General, who received it on behalf of the President. It is expected that a can of worms will be unveiled, and from the little we have had, it's not surprising, because from day one, we knew the quantum of resources that have been channeled from the federal government to the NDDC and other sources. But nobody could see any improvement in terms of livelihoods or the fiscal infrastructure in the region. So it was supposed to be this way, because otherwise nobody could explain where the money had gone to.
Now, the Minister of Justice explains that the NDDC has over 13,000 abandoned and unverified projects. And he did talk about the NDDC having about 362 different accounts, as you said, not in any way surprising. But then the problem now is, how does one ensure that when you push money to a region like that, the money doesn't end up in private pockets and the money doesn't get stolen? Because it's public knowledge that many NDDC projects are abandoned. I mean, you find these projects everywhere, littering everywhere across the Niger Delta region.
Well, this is failure of oversight and supervision on the part of the National Assembly. Find out what has happened to this money and taking it up. Of course, the stakeholders in the Niger Delta, even the board, the commission, civil society, everybody went to sleep. Nobody was insisting on value for money or ensuring that projects started were completed. What has been revealed is simply insane. Insane is that nobody, I don't think insanity is only when a man or woman removes his dress and enters the market square naked. For instance, yes, we knew that there were going to be challenges, but to have 13,000 something projects abandoned is the height of it. To have 200 or 300 and something accounts scattered all over the banks is the height of it. Now, in all these rules about, having streamlining public accountability at the federal level, streamlining public finance management, it meant that this never applied to the NDDC. It meant that they were on their own. So it is an extremely unfortunate situation that calls for severe action and sanctions against this rather, if I use the word deranged, it may be too harsh, but whoever supervises haste cannot qualify for it to be a same person. So I believe that the full weight of the law should be brought on those who have contributed to this level of social, political, and economic depravity.
Now, another thing I want to ask you is this: how do you reconcile all that has happened now with the fact that those who were tasked with the responsibility of managing the funds of the NDDC are actually from the Niger Delta region, and as a matter of fact, for failing to develop that region, they were doing injury to themselves as well. And then the people too sort of kept quiet and didn't say much, because you look at the lawmakers too who were supposed to carry out oversight functions on the NDDC, majority of them are from the Niger Delta region. Why will they allow this kind of thing to happen? You look at the heads of that organization over the years, they're all from the Niger Delta region. So how do we explain this?
It is simply a manifestation of greed, incompetence, and flawed characters. It's just like the governors who also mismanage state money. You will ask whether they are mismanaging the money for other people, but it's the money belonging to their brothers and sisters. So it is not just a question of whether this is federal money or whether this is state money. It's simply men and women who can steal anything without blinking an eyelid. So it is not a question of whether it was for their brothers and sisters. Greed has overtaken their normal mental thinking process. So this is what it is, not surprising in any bit. And this is replicated across even all the states of the Federation. If we were to check the finances of the states since 2000 and since we started the new democratic experiment up till now. So this is just one, but it is a very huge one, unfortunately. But the people were never given information. The budgets of NDDC were never posted on their website. They never audited the accounts and made it available for anybody to see. Even when the Auditor General for the Federation was looking at federal audits, he wasn't entitled to go and start looking at that of the NDDC. So at the end of the day, we had a clear, opaque administration and set of transactions that nobody had the opportunity to see. So if you didn't even know what they budgeted for, and you didn't even know how they spent the money, how were you supposed to intervene? So that is even the challenge.
So going forward now, the federal government has said it is going to prosecute all those indicted in the report and all of that. But then, how in the future do we stop this kind of open thievery or stealing from happening again?
The first thing to do is to ensure that all those criminals are in jail. None of them should be spared. Secondly, their budget can no longer continue to be secret. They are not managing their fathers or their brothers or their estate money. They are managing public money. The budget must be open. I blame partly the National Assembly. They consider these things dichotomously. They come, they hide it, they don't bring it out. So their budget proposals must be in the public domain, must be on their website. When they are considering it in the National Assembly or wherever they consider it, they should invite the public, and they should be under obligation to publish the accounts at the end of the year, or not like 3 months, not later than 3 months after the end of the year, because all these things will not have accumulated if the information was in the public domain. So that's a challenge.
So what about the issue of project monitoring? Because to have 13,000 projects abandoned, it clearly shows there was no monitoring in the first place.
That's why you ask, where have been the committees that exercise oversight in the National Assembly? Where are the committees? Whoever was a member of the committee should actually to brought to book to if they did not write reports, even if they wrote reports, did they publicize those reports? This is a culture. It's just like a cult. You go there, you do whatever you want, you collect money. Even if you write a report, you hide it where people will not see it. So how are the citizens supposed to intervene? So all of them, from those who participated as practitioners who were doing the stealing, to those who were supposed to oversight them, they should all be brought to book. Because we cannot continue. When will Nigeria make progress with this level of stealing? With this level of wickedness? Because what they're doing is wicked. It's not just stealing. Extreme wickedness. So all of them should be brought to book. And it must be mandatory that proposals for expenditure and the expenditure process must be open for everybody to see.
Because the biggest worry for me is if you have this kind of thing with the NDDC, then what happens to the 3% that the Petroleum Industry Act is supposed to provide for host communities? It's really a big worry.
What you're asking of 30%, what has happened to the 13% that should come from the Federation account to the states on behalf of the oil-bearing communities? What has happened to that one? You're even thinking of the future. Can any of the governors account for the 13% that comes to them in terms of investments in the oil-bearing communities? So it's a whole question of a culture of stealing. Many of the people we call honorables, distinguished, his excellencies are petty thieves. They're just thieves. So let's stop humoring people. We have to tell them publicly that they're thieves. Great people should hold them in contempt and simply banish them from where decent and civilized human beings. But when you call somebody excellency, you call him honorable, you call him distinguished, you call him titles, and all he does is to steal like a rat.
Well, it's really surprising to say the least. But thank you very much, Mr. Eze Onyekwere, for joining us on the program and, of course, for sharing your thoughts with us on this very, very controversial issue. We'll take a short break now, but when we return, we'll be discussing something else. Stay with us.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the President of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On DEJI360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians are saying in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, and use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
DEJI360, dissecting the issues.